cut you off in mid-question.
No, I was,
so
there's so much to
have at
talk
it.
about. Madam Chair, and I thank you for comments too about Alaska. What you share there sounds a lot like what's going on in Montana. There's a sense of urgency needed to change this process. When I was back home a couple weeks ago, Mills telling me that they're running at 2/3 capacity. We only have 11 left. We used to have 30. And they're running at 2/3 capacity. I asked them, what is the constraint? And they said, logs. We can't get enough logs to keep running these mills. There's plenty of demand. So this nonsense that's out there that says the reason the mills are not running at full capacity is because of low demand is absolutely false. The demand is there. We don't have logs to meet that. We're importing logs in Montana from Canada right now to meet some of our mills requirements. And the students from Libby High School, there's a reason they are called the Libby Loggers. We had 4 or 5 mills in Lincoln County once upon a time, and now there's not a major mill in Lincoln County. And we're surrounded by, was it 78% of federal lands there, and we can't access the logs to keep our mills going across the state. So we can't accept the status quo. We've got to drive change here. And back to Secretary Bonnie on that line of questioning around reforms I think we need. And I too echo, I think, the support we have on both sides to reform the way we fund wildfires. That seems to be just common sense. I don't know how you can effectively manage your budget with the uncertainty with the wildfires, and I hope we can move something forward there that will help everybody involved. But back in terms of some of these ideas on reforms. Another, Secretary Bonnie, is simplifying the environmental review for timber sales in suitable timberlands that the National Forest has in their plans, which have already gone through extensive public review, explicitly establishing harvest as the primary objective. Something we could work on.
So I think we're very interested in looking at ways that we can streamline. Obviously, the Farm Bill language will help us do that. I think we want to continue to work with these collaboratives and look at larger landscapes that both provide a suitable or a timber supply to local mills, as well as satisfying other stewardship objectives.
I know when Chief Tidwell was up here, he talked about the impact litigation's having on the department. In fact, he said that the litigation diverts staff. There's a lot of time and money being spent right now in fighting litigation. What about replacing litigation with a binding arbitration process?
So I think we've tried to be as creative as we can on NEPA. We've used alternative arrangements in place, and I think we're interested in discussing pilots, those types of things on NEPA, and would appreciate a conversation around that.
And we've had hearing after hearing when I was on the House side, now in the Senate, that we keep circling the airport here, and that airport that we need to land the plane on is the issue of litigation. Seems to be core, the obstruction that's going on here, stopping our mills from having access to having responsible harvest in the forests. How about requiring litigants to post a bond to pay for the federal government's legal expenses in the event the litigant loses in court?
So, there's a broader issue for the administration. I think we've made a lot of progress in litigation. Your state of Montana has had real challenges. You're right with respect to impacts on Forest Service staff, or just having to do more work to ensure that timber projects move forward.
But what's wrong with requiring the litigant to post a bond?
So I don't want to, the administration doesn't have an opinion on that. I don't want to get out in front of myself here. Just to say that I think we recognize there's a challenge here. Think that the collaboratives are an important way to move forward on this issue. We're winning more cases now, but we've still got a ways to go.
Yeah. Well, we'll keep working on these forms. I'd like to see us look at some of these changes, because again, we're going to have the same outcomes. We'll be in these same hearings 5 years from now, probably looking at the same numbers, unless we fundamentally change up the way the process is working, or I should say is not working today. You mentioned the Farm Bill. What about building on the 2014 Farm Bill to give states a greater role, giving the states a greater role in determining timber projects on national forests that should be given priority?
So we're working with Governor Bullock in your state.
We're tied up in court now, by the way. In the first one we tried to put out place, it's now been objections filed on it.
Yeah,
which gets back to the litigation issue, the bonding, the arbitration. If we don't change that, I'm just pessimistic we'll ever solve this problem.
I do think, to your point about working with governors, I think we're very interested in that. There are opportunities, not just through Good Neighbor Authority, but in other things as well.
Good, and I appreciate it. And I think that is definitely a step forward
Critical.
we have here. How about also, if given the flexibility and resource to do your job, would you support establishing timber sale requirements that are based on national forest plans, similar to the concept Commissioner Peck said has proven valuable in Montana?
So here's my caution here. What I think is working now are these large-scale collaboratives. I worry if we start to impose top-down requirements on those. To me, what's working is bottoms up. We need to think bigger and clearly get more work done. There's absolutely acknowledge the need to do more work, and so that's my caution.
Yeah, and our concern, of course, is I think Commissioner Peck mentioned it. It's like having a football game without a scoreboard. So we've got to keep score here and quantify this at the end of the day.
You're right. And nationally, we have said we've been very clear about wanting to go north of 3 billion board feet nationally and treat more acres nationally. We think the fire fix as it's laid out, and appreciate your leadership on that, will get us above that. But you're right. We need to get more work done.
Thanks, Secretary Bynum. Thank you for your thoughtful comments. I look forward to continuing to work on this problem and solve it. Thanks.